Nityanandam. This is Ma Nitya Dugananda. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Your Presence Heals. Today I'm going to share with you on the topic Science of Breathing, which is about freeing your breath. Are you one of those who are suffering from a restrictive breathing pattern, such as shallow breathing, breath holding, or gasping for breath? If you are, this video is going to help you in terms of understanding the science of breathing and how you created this pattern. I must share with you that this is one of my favorite topics, science of breathing, because as a living yogi, I've explored this wide spectrum of breathing. On one end is about learning how to get back to the effortless breathing pattern, which is our natural breathing process, which allows us to access to the natural renewal energy source. On the other extreme is pranayama, learning how to use the yogic technique pranayama as a purification process for the body and mind to uncover the inner light, your consciousness. However, I also discovered by the grace of my Guru, Paramsa Nityananda, a living incarnation, he once said that to understand that health is not ultimate, you need a healthy body. Same way, to understand that breathing is not the ultimate, you need to learn how to breathe properly. So, let me just explain to you some of the important truth about breathing. First of all, you need to understand breathing is the bridge between your body and mind. When you're able to hold awareness on your breath, you integrate both your body and mind into the present moment. That is the reason why in the yoga practices, we always bring students, practitioners, back to their breathing as a space of awareness. The other thing that you should also know that breathing is also the bridge between you and existence, because at the base unit of the breathing is prana, life energy, life force. When you touch the base unit, you touch the consciousness. So, I learned from the Vedic scriptures, both from Yoga Sutra from Patanjali as well as Shiva Sutra. These are the Shastra Pramana. And from my very own experience, my Atma Pramana, I discovered that breathing is the key to experience. In our body, there are 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, and space, ether. For us to experience the space, ether, the breath is the gateway, is the key for us to experience higher consciousness. So, the other thing that I also discovered is that breathing is considered one of the most powerful signs that can be used to improve the human physiological function. Also create certain energy circuit for healing, for health and vitality. When you simply infuse awareness into your breathing with proper technique, you can actually alter your energy level, even your pain threshold, as well as the state of health, and ultimately experience consciousness, taking the quantum jump to the space of consciousness. So, Another thing which is fascinating about breathing is breathing is the only physiological function within the human body which is both voluntary and involuntary. It means we can have the capacity to alter our breathing at will or let it run at its own accord, controlled by the central nervous system. This is only visible by the human body. So, the divine creation has made human body, given us the free will to make our breathing conscious or unconscious. So that is a choice that we all have. Now, I also learned from the Shiva Sutra that in the breathing process, from the inhaling, you enter into the first gap. When you exhale, you enter another gap. In between these two gaps, these are important moments for you to touch base with your consciousness. However, due to a restless mind, our tendency to jump from the past and the future because of the nature of the mind, we miss these gaps. These gaps are important for us to experience the core of our being. If you have a tendency to have high thoughts per second or restlessness, be very clear, you will miss these gaps. The gaps where you can experience the different dimension of you. Now, how do we go about creating a distorted breathing pattern? There are a few things that you need to know. Shallow breathing or distorted breathing pattern is caused by a few things. One, our unhealthy sedentary lifestyle, inactive lifestyle, too much sitting, no activism. Second, resistant to change. When you are resisting from the flow of life, you basically stop breathing properly. Third, restless mind. Like I mentioned, constantly infused with too many thought currents or insatiable desires. Too many desires running your life for nothing which can fulfill you. That also disturbs your breathing. Next, emotional traumas, emotional disturbances such as fear and pain, emotional pain. All these create disturbances in your breathing pattern. You must know that the pranic body relates to the breathing, carries the imprint of your desires, both your true desire, which you assume the body for, which is the purpose of birth, as well as your borrowed desire. Those desires you accumulate after you assume the body from the societal conditioning. So, when you're running your life for others' desire, your borrowed desire, you will see that simply you will run out of the steam, out of fuel, because you did not come down to fulfill those desires. So how do you go about repaddling your distorted breathing pattern? First thing that whenever I work with clients who are suffering from this pattern of restrictive breathing, what I do is the few steps that I take them through as part of the healing process is firstly allow them to develop a perceptual baseline of their breathing, meaning bringing the unconscious to the conscious level. They need to be aware that they are not breathing properly. That's the first thing. Second, they also need to understand how they created this breathing pattern of, let's say, breath holding, how they created this pattern. Identify the incidents, the hangover that trigger this pattern, the incompletion that trigger this pattern, which means they have to go back to the past, which help them to understand how they created this distorted breathing pattern. One thing you should know, like I said, that the breathing is a physiological function which is both voluntary and involuntary. Whenever a person undergo certain traumatic experiences in their life, frozen by fear, be very clear, the central nervous system resets itself to this distorted breathing pattern because of the incident. And from then on, this person breathes in a very shallow way because that's how the system resets itself to its distorted breathing pattern whenever you experience certain trauma in life. Unless you bring awareness to consciously reset your breathing pattern. So, as part of the healing process, it is very important to help individuals to go back to the past to identify the incident, the root incident where they created these disturbances. Then leading them to the signs of completion, completing with this incident which happened in the past. Another process of the healing is to work through yoga practices with the awareness of the breath, helping them to sense, feel the movement of the breath in the body, to touch, where they can feel the intimate breathing and the connection with the body and mind. When they are able to experience that, simply they will be able to repattern themselves. That create the awareness. That's why in the yoga practice, where I design for clients who suffer from shallow breathing, the asanas, the postures, in terms of the sequencing of the postures, is to create that awareness of the breathing in terms of the breathing muscles. You must understand we have two groups of breathing muscles. One, the primary breathing muscles, which include the abdominal muscles, the oblique abdominal muscles, central diaphragm, the intercostal muscles. These are the primary breathing muscles. There are also the secondary breathing muscles, which are the breathing muscles around the upper chest and neck. These are the secondary breathing muscles. So helping them to again activate the primary breathing muscles are important so that they again connect to the natural life force which is available in the space. So these are important understanding to get yourself back to the natural breathing process so that you can again access to the life force which is available to all of us. There's also one thing I learned from my guru. He gave a technique called breath awareness meditation, which relates to the 5 processes of breathing. He said that when we breathe, which actually goes through 5 steps. 1, inhaling. 2nd, where the prana, the life energy, stay inside the body, which is the 2nd step. Then the prana spreading throughout every cell in the body, the third process. And then exhalation, breathing out. Then the cleansing happen naturally, the fifth step. A lot of time we do not have the patience to allow the gaps to happen for the prana to download into the system, to the body, to every single cell. We already release the prana back to the ether, which means the actual downloading time of the prana is not sufficient for us to retain that prana. Hence, we are constantly deprived of prana and we get tired easily. We don't have the source of energy to recharge or rejuvenate ourselves. And when you are not aware of the fifth process, the cleansing, what happened is all the excretionary process where the body cleanses itself is denied. So when you're aware of both gaps, you will be very sure that you will be able to retain the prana, absorb the prana properly, and also the cleansing, the natural cleansing process in the body happens by itself. This is the innate body intelligence that has been designed for this body. The problem is because of our lifestyle, the modern lifestyle, where we are constantly having restlessness, high thoughts per second, we missed our breathing process. We become unconscious with our breathing. That is the reason why in yoga we bring the student back to the natural breathing process so that it can again connect to the energy source, which is all pervasive in the space. Now, because the science of breathing is such a vast topic, today I'm just going to give you the introduction, how you can actually come back to the natural breathing process. In the subsequent video, I will go deeper into the science of breathing. If you have questions, doubts, or anything pertaining to this topic, feel free to ask me by dropping your question in the chat line on this video. I'll be more than delighted to answer you, give you clarity. With that, I thank you for listening. Thank you for coming to my channel. Nityanandam.